Hello everyone. Today I'm going to tell the story of how a fan of the Yu-Gi-Oh anime qualified for the Yu-Gi-Oh Master Duel World Championship. My journey began more than 16 years ago when I was very young and started watching Yu-Gi-Oh GX on television. Then, around 2011 or 2012, I started playing the first Tag Force game. Back then, I used terrible strategies, like an 80-card hero deck the game's deck size limit. Over time, I refined my deck, but nothing too impressive. Eventually, I started printing my own cards to play by myself. Yes, I had no one to play with, but I already loved both the game and the anime. At that time, I was only a fan of GX. A few years later, I decided to watch all the Yu-Gi-Oh anime series. I believe I started watching them all in 2013, and by 2014, I began watching Arc 5, following it weekly. At this point, my skills hadn't improved much. I played several other Tag Force games, such as Tag Force 3, Tag Force 5, and later, Tag Force Special. I can say that my skills truly started improving between 2015 and 2016. I taught some classmates how to play, we bought official cards, but we played with very confusing rules. Eventually, I started playing Raid Raptors on an online platform of pure 40-card deck. This was my first real experience with the meta. I began facing decks like Cosmo, Pendulum, and Monarchs. I still managed to win some games and started experimenting with other decks like DDD, Speedroid, and Phantom Knights. However, my deck building skills were still at a beginner level, and my decks remained pure but fun. After that period, I stopped playing for a while. I had a few physical cards but mostly played against myself for years, almost until 2019. That year, I discovered Yu-Gi-Oh, content creators, and watched a lot of cross-balance videos. I learned a lot about the game's history, and my skills jumped to an intermediate level. By 2020, I had already reached an advanced level, playing on certain platforms. In 2021, I met my best friends. Before that, I was a rather cold and selfish person, but after meeting these true duelists, I slowly began to change. I learned what it really meant to be a true duelist. At that time, I was mostly rewatching the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, as I had the wrong impression about Rush Duel. That same year, I achieved my first big results. I won numerous online tournaments and started securing high rankings in online leaderboards. I even won a tournament full of well-known players. In 2022, I continued improving my skills and finally started watching the Rush Duel anime and, of course, I really enjoyed it. Between 2022 and 2023, I developed the core principles of my duelist journey path of a true duelist that I should follow. Always improve my skills, never blame luck for the outcome, because the real problem is always us. We can always improve and reach perfection. As time passed, I grew to appreciate and understand the perfection of the Yu-Gi-Oh anime even more. To me, they are the supreme work of humanity, the pinnacle of everything, and they are the greatest duelists. At the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024, my Master Duel and Duel Links journey began. I had only one goal to reach the top of the world. First, I played the Duelist Cup when Snake Eye had just been released. I didn't achieve great results, giving up with around 20,000 points after only one day of grinding. Then I played the Rush Duel WCQ in Duel Links. I reached a peak of 3rd place in my region, but I didn't have the best deck, as it required money to obtain 3 copies of key cards. I was very frustrated. At that point, I quit Duel Links. It's a fantastic game, but I didn't have the time to grind for the decks I needed, especially with my university studies in progress. Next, I set my sights on preparing for the September Duelist Cup in Master Duel, where I had started playing Yugioh. Once again, I briefly peaked in the top 10, but I got tired quickly and wasn't performing well when I stopped. I was frustrated at this point. I kept playing over the following months to reach Master Rank. Honestly, I felt at my peak in Master Duel, achieving my highest ever ranking in the other platform too. But when I thought about facing the challenge of another Duelist Cup, I had no energy. Then, out of nowhere, a friend of mine returned to the game. He was building Tenpai in Master Duel and had even considered playing the Duelist Cup if he had finished his deck in time. Whenever a friend of mine gets excited about something, I instantly get excited too. On the first day, things weren't much different from previous attempts. I had around 30,000 points, but this time I told myself I would fight until the end, and I did. Before I knew it, I had surpassed 45,000 points, only 10,000 away from first place. Then I climbed even higher, reaching the top spot. I held on to the lead for a long time, peaking at 77,000 points. But in the final moments, I was extremely exhausted. Tsuku and Ryu had already overtaken me, and I had fallen back to 65,000, 66,000 points. I had tears in my eyes, but I never lost focus. The Yugioh protagonists never let themselves be stopped. In my mind, I kept singing Yu-Gi-Oh openings for almost 72 hours straight along with one Dragon Ball song I had recently heard. At the final stretch, I wasn't that close to securing a world spot. However, since Ryan and Tasuku were already qualified, I knew that third place would also receive an invite. In the last hour, I needed about 5 consecutive wins to reach third place and secure my qualification. I noticed that the third place player wasn't playing anymore. I would only need to win enough games to surpass him, and that's exactly what I did. In less than 15 minutes, I miraculously got the necessary wins, overtook him, and immediately stopped playing. The following days were filled with anticipation, and when the final results came in, I was overjoyed. But I know this is just the first step of my journey. The fun is just starting.